Hi, beloveds. Welcome to Conscious Feminine Medicine. Um, Today, I want to read a poem. I'm going to start with reading a poem to you. And before we do that, let's all tune in because part of the Conscious Feminine Medicine, part of this medicine is really about coming into our hearts, coming into our soul, recognizing our divinity, and bringing through the evolution of our feminine soul. And so, what we want to do first is we just want to tune in and go ahead and place your hand on your heart if it's easier for you to actually tune into your heart. And let's just take a couple of breaths there and let the outer world really fall away and just drop into your own heart. And just let's make a habit of really just noticing what's really in your heart at any given time, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. And we're going to talk a little bit more about this, if not today, another time. But this is a really important concept of just dropping in and really just being with what's showing up in your physical body, being with what you're feeling in your heart, being with what's moving through your mental body. And when I say being with, what I really mean is actually letting yourself experience it, not being afraid of what's right here, of your body, your emotions. These are all in service to our deeper soul. And so this is, I want us to have a relationship with these aspects of our own being, of our own, these subtle levels, subtle layers of our body. We have many different bodies. And so our emotional body, our mental body, our physical body, let's just breathe in and become present. No expectation, no judgments, no criticisms, just being present. Whatever's there is perfect for you right now. Whatever you're feeling, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, whether you're happy or whether you're anxious or whether you're both. We could be both. We have many emotions. We don't have to choose one instead of the other. We don't have to repress. We can start to accept ourselves completely, fully. We're multidimensional beings, and this is such an important part of really anchoring in our feminine soul. I'm just taking a couple of breaths here. And so part of what starts to happen is you start to, on a physiological level, you start to drop in to the parasympathetic nervous system. And so you start to move away from the survival of the outer world and the watching and the hypervigilance to being able to receive. And so you kind of start moving in from doing to being, from masculine to feminine, and from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic. And this is where you can start to feel some of these universal qualities of peace and love and joy and really your essence. So we're going to be practicing that more and more as you tune into this channel of Conscious Feminine Medicine. So now, without leaving that space that you just opened up, really being present with that space, I'm going to read to you in the form of one of my poems. And this one is entitled, She is Here. She is here. She is whispering in the ears of all of those that have been poised at the edge of her ocean, waiting for this moment. She is the flame that hides in every spiritual path, lighting the way to the one that is in all. Our patriarchal masculine culture has kept her hidden and destroyed her. Perhaps they felt they could keep her repressed for the long haul, but she has been hiding in plain sight, in the warm cup of tea, in the mother's embrace, in the stranger's smile. Thousands of women have died in her name, voicing her wisdom and offering her love. But we wait no longer. We must move through the collective feminine wounds and realize we are poised at the precipice, ready to break the terror that has bound us. We dive into her, and she empowers us. We surrender the fear, the shame, the isolation, the abandonment, and the powerlessness. And we awaken to her joy, to her power, to her courage, and her wild, ecstatic spirit within us. It is time. The revolution of the feminine has begun. She is coming through your heart, through your soul, and through your sacred body. She frees you from the constraints of the past into the bliss of the present. Do you dare to listen and awaken to her magic? And just take a couple of breaths to really feel that, really let that drop into your being. Really allow that to be a bridge to connect to your soul's essence, to your essence. And we're going to be talking a lot about essence, what that means. So let yourself feel your essence, this place, this ocean of your being that we're referring to here in my poem, and that we also refer to as the feminine, as consciousness, as our divinity, as also as the mother, as source, as oneness. And we're all created from this oneness, this source, this consciousness. And so, being created from that, our own individual expression of that, we all carry our essence, this essence. This is an aspect of our being. It's really our whole being. And really there's no separation. There's no ours and the oneness. But in order to speak about this, we have to speak about it in the duality. We have to say our essence or the essence. And it's really that place in our soul that is in its pure light, its pure perfection, that is also one with a consciousness that gives birth to all form. And that would be oneness or source. And so there's a part of us that's connected to that. That is our true identity, our true self. And that is also what we're referring to as our essence. Or we're going to clarify, but there's also our feminine essence. And that's a conversation for another time. But just let yourself feel that in your body, your essence. And sometimes we can feel it easily, and sometimes we have a lot of different wounding, different thoughts. We can't really get out of our heads. We have a lot of mind chatter. Sometimes we have a lot of emotion, so our hearts are closed, so it kind of prevents us from actually dropping into the soul level. So we're going to be discussing some of that as well. So when I say to drop into your essence, just allow, even if you don't know what that means, because we're not talking about concept here, we're talking about embodiment. So it's a different level of, this is your physical intelligence, if you may. We have emotional intelligence, we have our mental intelligence, which we're all very used to, but this is a different level of intelligence, which we actually call wisdom. And in order to enter, most of the time, not always, but most of the time, we have to be willing to be in that bridge of not knowing. It's like, I don't even understand what essence means. Okay, but I'm going to do it anyway. And so that's how we get out of our heads and go and move into this place of our soul. Sometimes we have to be in that space of not knowing and just, okay, I'm just going to drop in and I'm just going to feel my body and I'm going to go through the moves without really knowing what that looks like, without really having a picture to lead me, but just letting your own guidance, your own wisdom lead you. And that's what I'm doing here. So it's not about me listening always to me, because it's really about turning inward and listening to you. Each one of us, it's about freeing ourselves so that we can be in our sovereignty, completely in our sovereignty. Freeing ourselves from the dependency of the expectations of having outside things meeting our needs, and rather turning inward and reclaiming our sovereignty, where we connect with this place, this essence that we are, and that fulfills our needs. That fulfills the deep yearning for love that we want, the deep yearning for peace, the deep yearning for joy in our lives. And it also heals the places that we're still carrying in our hearts, that we've been hurt, that we've felt rejected, that we have felt abandoned. All of those places are healed by us connecting with our essence and giving that to ourselves. That is the deep work of really stepping into our sovereignty. That is part of the feminine consciousness that we're all being awakened to at this time. And this piece about sovereignty is really what we're all coming into, our sacred power, our ability to listen to the wisdom and the guidance with no intermediaries. And that doesn't mean we can't listen to others and in their opinions, but always recognizing that we have the ability deep within us to hear the deep wisdom of source, of oneness, because we are connected. That is what's giving birth to us in every moment. And so it's reclaiming our ability to really step into our sovereignty, reclaiming our ability to trust, reclaiming our ability to clear, transform, purify our channel, our vessel, so that we can hear the guidance, hear the wisdom, hear that which is the feminine, which is there for us. It's the divine mother. It's really this aspect, this feminine face of source, of the oneness, right? Because there's a feminine and there's always a masculine. There's a duality here that we're also talking about. And this whole process of awakening to the feminine and awakening to our feminine soul is about reclaiming that which has been lost. We've lived in a world that in the last 5,000 to 8,000 years that have really repressed all of the qualities that are yin, all of the qualities of the feminine. And even those qualities, not just in our own hearts, like our emotional intelligence and our ability to connect on the inner levels, and to our sensitivities and to our intuition and all of that, as well as on the outer with who we pray to, who we think source is. All of this has had a masculine veil over it for the last maybe 5 to 8,000 years, maybe more. And so we've repressed and demonized a lot of the feminine qualities. And so now we're bringing up the yin. We're bringing up to awaken and bring back and restore the feminine and restore the compassion and restore all of these universal qualities within ourselves, and then bringing them out into our world, into our planet, into the respect, the sacredness of form, of planet Earth, of our own form. All of that is part of this feminine revolution. And so this whole concept of sovereignty is not about giving our power away and always thinking that, that someone else knows more. Intellectually that might be true. I mean, we study things, we focus, and we do develop a level of mastery, with things in the outer form, with languages, with, knowledge, different areas of expertise, if you may. But we're not talking about that intelligence. We're talking about really tuning into our visceral intelligence, our visceral experience to connect with wisdom. Because everybody has the ability to connect with wisdom. We just have to kind of clear the channels first. We have to clear the channels of separation, of pain, of suffering, of where we feel victimized, where we're still holding on to rage, anger, because we feel disempowered. But the whole point is for us to be able to, yes, hear others and their opinion, and then tune in and see if that's in alignment with our soul's purpose, with our soul mission, with what we are being asked to do, to come forth, to express in this moment, in this lifetime. So we each have these unique abilities and these unique expressions. And if we listen deeply, we can hear what that is for ourselves. And so the first step in that is to really understand that we have this right. And not only this right, but this is the time to reclaim our sovereignty and to really release the places where we feel disempowered, where we've given our power away unconsciously through our expectations, through our dependency, thinking that, we need to get something from someone, to also by being also connected to our sense of righteousness, like, oh, I'm right and they're wrong. We might be right for ourselves, but we do not have to impose that reality on anyone else. And we do not have to wait for anyone's approval either to do what's right and what's in alignment within our own being. And that's our responsibility. We have the responsibility to fulfill our deepest yearning with awakening to our essence, awakening to truth inside of ourselves. And so this sovereignty comes with awareness of our sacred power that we have. But this is feminine power. This is not power over others, but power over our own ability to be happy, to be fulfilled. And that comes with a responsibility of realizing, it's like that power comes with responsibility of taking that into our own hands and of letting go of all of the places that we subconsciously or unconsciously are still expecting others to make us happy, are still expecting others to save us, are still expecting others to rescue us. And most of those are so deeply internalized that we're not even aware of them. And so the first part of this process is really to accept, take responsibility for our sovereignty. And that means that really start to accept that we are the medicine. We carry the medicine for our own evolution, for our own happiness. And awakening to that medicine of our being is the medicine, is the answer. That is the answer to our fulfillment. And so for today, let's just take a couple of minutes to actually feel that deeply in your heart, in your soul, just the words, how they've landed within you. You know what? I mean, maybe there's a little bit of anxiety, maybe there's a little bit of fear, maybe there's, emotions that have been triggered through this process, and just allowing yourself to be present with that, to acknowledge your own emotion. Maybe that excited you. Maybe there's a level of excitement and hope, and maybe there's both. Maybe there's a little bit of like, oh, I really don't know what to do, but that sounds right, and I'm really scared of what that means, and what do you mean I have to let go of other people, and so there's that, all this confusion and not knowing. So it's okay. It's okay to hear that, presence that in your heart, and just be not doing. We're not doing anything here. We're being present with it. And when we're present with it, there's this whole other level of engagement that happens. But it's from a whole different place. It's from a place of heart, of soul. It's from a place of your own powers that lie in your consciousness, not the ones that we're used to doing and fixing. This is like you're surrendering it to a greater level of consciousness that lives within you and it's outside of you. And we're just becoming present to what's stirring in us, and maybe uncomfortable, and maybe it's comfortable, maybe it's both. And this is also part of starting to listen, acknowledging what's in our hearts. Many of us feel that we haven't been heard, we haven't been seen. And maybe there's a part of us that, and this is collectively, because most of us did not grow up with caregivers or parents that really were able to be there with unconditional love, because they didn't have that capacity yet in their soul's evolution. And so many of us are really the first generation. We're at the forefront of doing that for ourselves and for the next generations that are coming through us, right? Whether we're birthing them or whether we're, who we connect with and who we are in touch with every single day. And we affect change just by the state of what we're resonating with. And so, perhaps this place where we have felt unseen, unheard, unloved, unacknowledged, the first step to actually healing those places within us is to give ourselves that medicine, give ourselves that ability to hear all of these conflicting places in our heart, hear and feel the fear, feel the shame, feel the hurt, and not push that or shove that under something, or or put ourselves together right away so that we can go do the next thing. This is about giving ourselves the medicine, and this is how the process of healing. So first we listen, we become aware, and then after doing that for a few minutes, we can go to our journals and write whatever you're feeling that has now arisen from the words that you've listened to in the last few minutes. What's in my heart? What are some of the unresolved feelings, thoughts that are rising in me that again may be pleasant or unpleasant, and journal them. It's by journaling we give ourselves a voice, and we give ourselves the ability to hear, to acknowledge, in all of the places that we didn't have that from our biological caregivers or from other caregivers on the physical plane. And so that's where the healing starts. Can you give yourself that? Can you make room and time to start remothering yourself in this way? This is also part of the feminine. And listen to these places without judgment, with only love and acceptance. Not having to do anything, just having a field where you can actually voice this to yourself in writing, where you can just breathe into it with love, compassion, and reestablish that within yourself and give that to yourself. So on that note, I'm going to let you stay with your process. Again, tuning into your heart for a few minutes and listening without judgment, with just love. It's all perfect. Everything that's coming up is perfect for your evolution. And you might even want to ask yourself, where are the places that I am still attached to having expectations of other people making it better for me? Where am I still blaming people in my past for my happiness? And a side note, this is not to deny that, that things that are very strong sometimes, things that are very unfair happens. There's all sorts of different abuses and all sorts of horrific things that are happening in this world. Granted, and we see that, we acknowledge that. And what I'm talking about is reestablishing the ability we have, the power that we've given away for even those things that have been extremely challenging in our lives. Where are we still saying, I'm right, they were wrong, and therefore, they need to change? Where are we still giving the power away and expecting that they're going to make it better for us? That's where we're giving the power away. And that's the place where we can step into our sovereignty and start to literally unplug these umbilical cords that we have with the outer world and start turning them towards the source itself, towards the source of love in our heart, towards the source of peace, of joy. And we are connected and we carry that source in our hearts. So I'd love to hear your comments. Please take the time to actually journal and go deep within because these are all layers, and you start to unravel these things within you. And you can always, read more about some of these things in some of our programs on consciousfemininemedicine.com. And also comment below, and I would love to answer some of your questions that you may have. Wish you many blessings. Thank you.